Actually, it's 28 pages, but I try to read this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have time for questions and discussion.
I was just curious why Islamization is so popular in terms of, because you said that over this last century, more and more people have become more religious, more pious, more Wahhabist in Africa. I'm curious what the allure of that is, especially when you realize that the largest slave trade in the world was the Arab slave trade, where they deported Africans, forced them to be Muslims, and brought them into the Middle East, and it also had a very high death rate. So I'm curious, when there's that history of Arabs mistreating Africans, why there's such a drive to copy the Arabs in their
In my
ways.
paper, there is a part of this, I deal with it. Even I have a novel who's coming out in a few months that I'm dealing like a resume for 50 years of African independencies. Yes, the ignorance don't know that Arabs have been the first to make a black body like an international object for slavery. That is ignorant. Even they know it when they see black in Arab countries. They don't see black like a minister in Arab countries. But they are majority. If you go to Libya, they are majority. Why they are not president? Why they are not president? Why they are down? So I'm not, as I quoted with my method, it's just fact. It's not just fact. You have to interpret it. You have to have the knowledge, but to go over the knowledge. Yes, it's in this part is here because it was not really the point to do, but I quote it. And there were those who we taught to Europeans and helped them to how it's a good business also. So when you know such a thing, you have to make an interpretation. We are philosophers, we are not ideological position, no. I just, the fact, and you have to make an interpretation. And for me, it's not to say, oh, no, against the rap. No, I have friends, okay, and parents, parents who are Muslims, and those who are working every day at the mosque. So when I go, we sit down together, we speak, and they say, oh, what do you, and okay. So the problem is the ignorance of people. Okay, ignorance of people. And I think that is not to speak about a problem that exists. We cannot change fact, okay? But we can overcome problems that we had in the past. But to overcome problem, need generosity, need new consciousness, need new person, okay? That was why the European philosopher didn't succeed to prevent the society against anti-Semitism, because they didn't go themselves to question themselves. And we, as my generation, I don't know why, but for sure, with the past, now when I look at the past, I know that how I feed my mind, how also I took the distance for facing concepts and historic fact to protect me to remain who I am and a free thinker.
So, if I can follow up on the other question first, and sort of a continuation. So you speak about how the point that this.
I just want to write because this paper will become a small essay. So all the questions I have here, I will answer in the essay.
So you speak, so to come back to the point the gentleman made, you said it's a question of ignorance. And you also, in part of your response, you speak about how the philosophers didn't go in themselves to prevent the Shoah, at least morally and ethically, forget militarily or physically. But I'll even go a step further. It was the most educated people, the philosophers, the scholars, the only institution in Nazi Germany to voluntarily get rid of the Jewish members or colleagues was the academy. The only one. The police, the military, they resisted actually at times to get rid of their Jewish colleagues. But the universities voluntarily got rid of them. Heidegger and all history. And it reminds me of the question today. In the Western Academy, there is a tremendous hostility, and I would even say activism among universities, not even to deal with the questions that we deal with. So why is it that the academy cannot deal with these questions of anti-Semitism between the First and Second World War in Europe? Philosophers, thinkers failed. And I would even say that these questions that you ask, contemporary anti-Semitism, is a taboo. And it's almost like a period of McCarthyism. And I'm not trying to be melodramatic. There's a denial of people who want to engage this issue. If, 1 minute please, if you are a young scholar, student, or faculty member that engages this issue, you become marginalized. I'll just give you one example. Last week we had a professor from England who came to our seminar series at Harvard University, David Seymour, who came. He's a very brilliant scholar, very bright guy. He kind of came from a working class background, made it to London School of Economics through polytechnics and community colleges. He did not tell his friends and colleagues that he was coming to Harvard University, which was his dream, his lifelong ambition and dream, because he was speaking about anti-Semitism. And in the United Kingdom, to give a lecture about anti-Semitism is a kiss of death. So, Professor Coulibaly, why are intellectuals repeating the same mistake?
Okay, that is, I just give what I saw in Europe. I've been there more than almost 30 years, 20 and more, okay? And that is, you have to know that for philosophers, sometimes when they think too exactly, the idea are very perfect, the coherence of the idea are very perfect, what disturbs them and traps them is the fact that reality is reality. They don't understand why the right thinking, thought cannot change the world. And I think that the intellectuals of Europeans could not accept what happened. And the example is people from the left. They always want, like, the power in the society be like the train, and they are the locomotive. They want big problems to solve. They want ideology, and they are sometimes pro third world, and after they are pro everything you want. But the problems that intellectuals have in Europe is that they cannot erase what happened, what they did, as Heidegger, or what they did, what the law that happened in their own land. They can't accept the past. They cannot regard, they cannot face the Shoah. How it happened, even they didn't ask this question. They just want that it had never been. It's what Nietzsche called the dramatic fight against time. Okay? And in the other side, they support people from urban society, you know, the poor people in poor neighborhoods. They support them, not because they want the people to become rich and to be well known. No, they support them because for them, their position is that there is not any more anti-Semitism in Europe. No more. The classical, the anti-Judaism is over. But as quoted here, if those who read French, you can see this philosopher say that there is no anti-Semitism. No. It's not material. It's like when you are in the computer, internet, you speak, forum. It is space, but without space. And for Badiou, which is a good philosopher, he said that it becomes like no material fact. Even they are killing Jews. They are killing Ilan, because he wrote his book after they killed Ilan Halimi and after the attack of Toulouse. He said that anti-Semitism doesn't exist. And he justified the position of people.
I want to interrupt you. He says not only does it exist, it only exists in the minds of a few Jews.
Yes, that is a dematerialization. That is a dematerialization, as I call it. It's a dematerialization of anti-Semitism. They are killing people that does not exist. That is the Jews that create this anti-Semitism. And the people, the small guy, the black guy, who starts to say, oh, I want to eat a Jewish, now they are helping terrorists, Islamists in Mali. Those who went to Mali, they are black, they are not yellow, they are not green. Among the Islamists, they are black. Azam, they help, they cut hand, they kill people. They are not green. So, to answer to the question, the Europeans intellectual, like Heidegger, he never rejects and he never give up with his national socialist card, member card. So for them, if it was possible to go on to be the master of the world without the Jewish, the world, it will be very happy. They would be very happy because that was the aim of Hitler. And I always say to Africans, like Fanon was saying, you African, you are very stupid. When they will finish with Jews, it's you. Your tour is coming. And that, he wrote it when he was in Algeria. He said that, what say the colonizer? They say that the Jewish work in our administration, the black taking our wife, but Fanon said, let's, the Jewish, the African have to understand. When they are speaking about the Jewish, after it's black. He didn't say Arabs. Even he helped Algerians to have their independence. He said, but he was discussing in Max, black skin, white mask. Just saying to the Africans, when they are insulting Jewish, when they are speaking about the Jewish, the second in the list is you, not someone else. But sometimes people forget. They read, but they don't see what they are reading. And I used to read, not with my eyes, but with my ear.
So, first you and then Don.
Thank you. So, I appreciate what you said, and I wonder if you bring that to students in Africa, and what the response is if you do.
You know, when you are teaching in Africa, even if we are not in colonization period, you are a big master. You know? They need to go from class to class. If you speak, and the man wants to make a fight with you, he's going to be lost. He will never go to class. That's okay. That they are afraid to face you. Okay? But we are, at the times, they know that you give them 5 minutes or 15 minutes to rest. They took their things and they go. What you are going to do? Okay? And for other people, for other students, they say, no, but it's 5 years, we make the crusade, it's nobody care. Now I call my friends. When Mali started, I said, I always tell you, behind words, there is reality and there are words. You see now? Tomorrow, you'll have the same advertisement, jihad, and there is a Mujao. This is a movement for Islamization of West Africa. I told you in the beginning that in East is not problem. In south, it's not problem. In the north, it's an Arab country. But the west, with its multiple empire that fought against Arabs and Islamization. Now for them, they have to come back. And that is the last part of Africa to be conquered. And they are doing the same strategy as they did in Algeria. They have many organizations of helping poor people. There is medicine, they come, they make operation of ISIS, Iraq, Iran. Iran is very present. Turkish, they are present. The Tariq Ramadan, every year, every course, Burkina Faso, he come to give lectures. But he's well-dressed, new Muslims. And one of his parents was the creator of Muslim Brotherhood, and he remained. So he's a very intelligent, smart person. He's presented very well. So these intellectuals, Africans, who are Muslims, they say, okay, why should the state, the colonial state, be represented as a Christian state? Why? What is our part? Just last year, there were a national conference about laicity in Burkina Faso. That means that we have a problem. It was not a problem. When I was a child, Muslim, Christian, paganism, animist, we live together in the same family. You are Christian, Muslim. More and more, if a Christian girl wants to get married with a Muslim, she has to convert it. No? So if you see that in the society, the problem, which was not a problem, become a problem, so you are in danger. Laicity was not a problem, but it became a problem. And Christians and Muslims want the state. Everyone wants to be well represented in the state. Like when they start in Europe with the veil. Ah, no, that is the problem, this is the discussion. Oh no, democracy, democracy. And yes, they took the veil. Now they are taking the state, as Nietzsche said, if you want to destroy democracy, you don't have to fight it with words. You have just to lie on institution, and they will fall down. And that's what Islamization is doing. Islamists and terrorists are doing. They say that we are democrats, like the former prime minister of Turkish. Oh yes, we are social democrats, but democracy in the world means some things. Democracy, like in Algeria, to take the power, like in Egypt with Morsi, to take the power. I'm elected president. So now I'm going to put the Sharia. That Western people don't understand. They are sometimes so stupid, they will give the gun to their best friends, and after they say, we have problems.
No.
Just in passing, it's worth noting that the very paragons of science in Germany in the 30s, the faculties of the medical schools, they were the intellectual elite, the scientists. They were the first to cashier the Jews. So, since we are reenacting history again, is it surprising that it is the intellectuals in this country who are finding the Jews at fault and cashiering them where they can?
Just to comment on what he said, in Germany very often, that was an economic situation where when Jews were let go from universities and other positions, then other people were able to take them. And that was part of what happened, that there was, the economy was that they wanted to get jealousy. They just needed those positions, or they wanted those positions, and they didn't care about the human aspect of it. So that was very prominent in Germany. No matter if they were intellectuals, it was money.
I think that Hitler was over, the money was not his, the aim.
No, but in the universities or doctors, when they would let
You
go.
know, you take a person like Heidegger. Let me give you an example. Heidegger, you know who's the master of Heidegger? Is the Jewish, was his master, Husserl, the father of phenomenology. Okay? And Husserl fought to give his position, academic position, not to a Jew, not to someone else, to his best student. As Anna Arendt also was student from. So, Jews are, sometimes when we are speaking, I say this, Jews are like African. They are sometimes so naive. They are so kind. That's they don't see that this guy is a snake.
I agree with you.
It's the same subtlety. I always say, no use the word. Our journalists, the journalists don't have to use the word colonization in the problem. But I cry in the word. So that is something which is similar between Jewish and black people. They are so naive.
Yeah.
They think that, okay, just I want to help, you know, he's a brilliant guy. Why should I take a stupid guy to the place? But it happened that when Heidegger had the place, he did everything to eject. And Levinas has a word. No, Levinas is the ethical man. And my way of thinking and dealing with problems in the world come from Levinas. Levinas is a hard person. If you read his text against Western capitalism and also imperialism, it's very hard. But also he's an ethical responsible. The world cannot deal to become a criminal. His world, the way, the tongue, the expressivity of Levinas deal to ethic position. That's also there. So what is the stupidity here? It's not a kind. Hitler was above money. It was just to clean Europe from Jewish. Like Muslims or Islamization want the world without Jewish. Or if they want Jewish inside, there will just be the dhimmi. Okay? Dhimmi. You know what in those who know the story. So, Jews are sometimes naive. Like Africa. Naive. Look at, the Africans are helping Muslims, and now they help them so much that they attack Mali. Mali represents, you know what Mali represents in the heart of Africans? In the rehabilitation of African history? You know what it represents? The attack of Mali, it was like you cut black, West African black head. But they were stupid. They say Afro-Muslims in Paris, okay. That is the result.
I have a question on a little more positive note. In my own recollection, talking back into the 70s, I remember how what was then known as Tanganyika had tremendous representation in Israel. And Israel reached out to different African countries over the years. So my question to you is today, which are those countries, which of the African countries are being, and I know South Sudan, I believe, is one of them, but which ones are Israel heavily connected with and doing, giving help and have nice relations?
Okay, I didn't have the list, but I can just
You probably have one.
Okay, I can just give you that in 1984, at the end of 1984, and the beginning of 1985, Ufobani make a lectures that took 5 hours. Okay? The last word say that he said to Arab people. Ufobani was the former president of Ivory Coast. He has been president for 40 years. So, in 1985, the last part of his lectures conference was, you Arabs, you asked us to follow you because we come from the third world. But we cannot follow you like you don't have a unity, you don't know where you are going. So, Ufobanye has some state, I can say, called Ghana, and some state, I had the list. In 1973, they didn't vote to make the question Zionist is anti-Semitic, is racism. There are the few countries, I think 18 countries, that I have the list, I have to check in my paper. But Ivory Coast never took position against Israel. Even Mauritania. So, as Ufobanye was leader of all Africa, because his country was rich and he has money, from him, all the state, African state, Francophone state, and many English Anglophone state renew their relationship with Israel. In 2004, there were perhaps 8 or 10 states who were not, we didn't establish the diplomatic relation with Israel. Okay, but today I didn't check the last vote, but I know I checked for Ivory Coast. They didn't take a position. They didn't allow their representatives to vote for Palestinian position. For sure, that I know. But I can. It is easier to check it.
We have time. I'm sorry for one more question because we have to leave the room at around 8 o'clock. So anybody who has not asked,
just so something. And some people forget, if Ivory Coast is a big country of agriculture, coffee, yeah, it has been done by Israeli people. And this tradition remains.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yes.
No, I just wondered, do you have any books, your written books, I want to read them?
It's a novel that it finished, but it's a self-publishing books, so you have to come in a few times.
We're going to put it on our, we're going to distribute it on this way. Okay, and so one more comment, please. Quickly.
I was just curious, because Israel is a state with a number of various ethnicities and the idea of representation, especially given that there are very few countries that have come back from colonization and have become first world countries. Why is Israel not used as a template in more African countries as a way of organizing a political system where you have a variety of different ethnicities and different social groups?
For me, Israel has to change its way, its diplomatic way with African states. They don't have to be afraid to have their friends everywhere in Africa. Western will fall down by the Islamization, not because the Islamists are strong, because Europeans are taking wicked position. Okay? Concerning Israel and African state, I regret that why should there is like agence Islamic agents for Africa, and we don't have Israel agencies for Africa, which make intellectuals. That was our aim when we created GIRAF. We were not only speaking, no, we wanted that intellectuals deal with hard problems, slavery, everything, colonization, decolonization. When intellectuals are engaged and they discuss really about problems, we cannot solve the problem, but we are like a kind of models. Okay? Many years I tried to create a center for a Levinist center for a dialogue between Jewish and African and other people, intellectual people, who want to educate people to have, even there is a conflict, to have position, rational and ethical position. But it's very hard. So I all the time say that the Israeli people have to work with the intelligent people, the people who know their culture, the people who can take care about the world, but I'm not Mr. I'm just the friend of this programmer. It's
And
good.
on that note,
Eh?
on this note,
Yeah.
so thank you, Shalem.
To question themselves. And we, as my generation, I don't know why, but for sure, with the past, now when I look at the past, I know that how I fit my mind, how also I took the decision for facing concepts and historic fact protect me to remain who I am and a free thinker.
So, if I can follow up on the other question first, and sort of a continuation. So you speak about how the point that this.
I just want to write because this paper will become a small essay. So all the questions I have here, I will answer in the essay.
So you speak, come back to the point the gentleman made. You said it's a question of ignorance. And then you also, in part of your response, you speak about how the philosophers didn't go in themselves to prevent the Shoah, at least morally and ethically, forget militarily.
50 years of African independences. Yes, the ignorance don't know that Arabs have been the first to make black body like an international object for slavery. That is ignorant. Even they know it when they see black in Arab country. They don't see black like a minister in Arab country. But they are majority. If you go to Libya, they are majority. Why they are not president? Why they are not president? Why they are down? So I'm not, as I quoted with my method, it's not just fact. You have to interpret it. You have to have the knowledge, but to go over the knowledge. Yes, this part is here because it was not really the point to do, but I quote it. And there were those who taught to Europeans and helped them to how it's a good business also. So when you know such a thing, you have to make an interpretation. We are philosophers. We are not ideological position. No, I just the fact, and you have to make an interpretation. And for me, it's not to say, oh no, against the Arab. No, I have friends. Okay, and parents. Parents who are Muslims and those who are working every day at the mosque. So when I go, we sit down together, we speak, and they say, oh, what do you? And okay, so the problem is the ignorance of people. Okay, ignorance of people. And I think that it's not to speak about a problem that exists. We cannot change fact. Okay, but we can overcome problems that we have in the past. But to overcome problem, need generosity, need new consciousness, need new person. Okay, that was why the European philosopher didn't succeed to prevent the society against anti-Semitism because they didn't go themselves. I'm sorry, it's 28 pages, but I tried to read it.
Thank you very much. We have time for questions and discussion.
I was just curious why Islamization is so popular in terms of, because you said that over this last century, more and more people have become more religious, more pious, more Wahhabist in Africa. I'm curious what the allure of that is, especially when you realize that the largest slave trade in the world was the Arab slave trade, where they deported Africans, forced them to be Muslims, and brought them into the Middle East, and it also had a very high death rate. So I'm curious, when there's that history of Arabs mistreating Africans, why there's such a drive to copy the Arabs in their
In my
ways.
paper, there is a part of this, I deal with it. Even I have a novel who's coming out in a few months that I'm dealing like a resume for.
But I'll even go a step further. It was the most educated people, the philosophers, the scholars, the only institution in Nazi Germany to voluntarily get rid of the Jewish members or colleagues was the academy. The only one. The police, the military, they resisted actually at times to get rid of their Jewish colleagues, but the universities voluntarily got rid of them. Heidegger and all history. And it reminds me of the question today. In the Western Academy, there is a tremendous hostility, and I would even say activism among universities, not even to deal with the questions that we deal with. So why is it that the academy cannot deal with these questions of anti-Semitism between the second